Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to JR Studios. I am your host, Jay Voodoo Child, and this video is actually a remake on what to do with your extra time. Um, I recorded this before. I kind of had a whole train of thought going, and for whatever reason, the audio was saved on like a different channel than what YouTube um, has available to people. And so the kind of default mode for how the YouTube plays this particular video had no audio to it. I could hear it on my hard drive just fine, but for whatever reason, by the time I uploaded it, it had been separated or what have you. So I'm just going to re-record the video. And actually, I think the content of what I'm saying will have changed significantly now that I've kind of given more and more thought about it. It also helps me to talk about a subject to kind of give me different perspectives and to, you know, sometimes I'll come out of a video with new inspirations or what have you. And that's always interesting to me. So, I'm grateful that I'm doing these videos because by trying to describe things to this audience, I'm better to understand some of the nuances to these subject matters, and so I'm happy about that. But before I kind of dive into some of the suggestions, I'd like to talk about kind of my my experiences in the game and kind of how fortunate I was to be in the situation I was. So, just a quick recap. I met Rockin' Lee on the very first American Dream scenario. It was Golden Gate, I forget how many years ago. It was the very first, it was the introduction run of that scenario. And we met on the very first round. I started off in Denver. He started off in Omaha. There was no leadership in Denver, so me and my buddy who started there, we moved to Wichita. We went to Kansas City. Got a very poor reception in Kansas City because they're the opposite color, and that's how the scenario runs. There's a big faction, East versus West thing over there, and they'd connected down to the leadership in Omaha connected down to KC, and so I heard some very interesting strategy from the kind of guy who was running Omaha, and his name was Dumbledore. And Rockin' Lee was trying to learn the game. It was like his first full server. I mean, he tried classics, here and there, just partial to understand the game, but this was like his first official first round. And he was looking to gather up anyone who knew the game and put them in this corp and to try and learn from them and grow as a player. Um, Once I heard Dumbledore's theories on the game, which was completely different than the way the game is structured now, I knew that he was right and had a perspective that I wanted to be around. So I instantly moved up to Omaha, started playing over there. Um, because of the RG placements on American Dream, Dumbledore just kind of blew a gasket when he realized how far away crude oil is for that particular city. And he was a wallet warrior, and this was not pleased that he'd spent all this money. And again, this very first round, we've seen the map, so we have no idea where the RG placements are when we start the game and make our initial choices. And Omaha just has no chances of winning because crude oil, which is the base material for a whole leg of RG chains, is like 14 tracks away or something ridiculous. And so he rage quit over that. And so Rockin' Lee kind of took over the leadership on the city, and I kind of became his right hand man, and we developed a great relationship that lasted for several rounds, and that I've always kind of said that he is the owner of the restaurant and I'm the head chef. It is his job to stock the pantry. It is my job to look at the pantry and try and come up with the best meal plan I can. And so I was basically the main strategist for his corp, and that is called EF. And we were very successful on Golden Gate. And we attracted a large crowd of people, and they, were all kind of different types of players. And we got into some situations where you either love us or hate us, and that led to our eventual kind of it's too much drama. We're not having fun anymore, so we stopped playing. Um, Later on, we both kind of got nostalgic about the game at the same time, and he was looking maybe to get in, but had like a major trip that he was planning fairly soon. Couldn't play a full 3 months round, and that just happened to be the time that they were introducing the double speed servers. And I said, hey, they're doing a double speed server for the very first time on the US scenario, and that's going to be Broadway. And wouldn't it be great if we started another round together on the very first round of something new on the main scenario that we liked? And also, because it was basically half length, we could play the full round, and then his trip was on the second half, and so it would only affect the second round. And so we started that game, and we had like zero expectations of doing well. And we reached out to some of our old players, and some of them joined us, some of us didn't. So we had a small core group of people that started playing with us in Broadway. And we started off in Kansas City, and my idea was to go over and try and flip Wichita, and maybe just kind of go back and forth between Kansas City and Wichita to flip them back and forth, and to raise a bunch of prestige, and then maybe track on down to Little Rock eventually for the end game. And we love Little Rock area. And we got in there, and the very first scenario was not popular. It had very low population, and people were kind of just checking it out and not really playing it seriously. It was basically an off server for a lot of people, and so we were kind of pulling out our old tricks from Golden Gate, and they were working incredibly well. And we could power level Wichita, and we got it up to number one, city. And I was like, okay, well, we're done that, so let's power level Kansas City, and we took that up. And um, and so we made like number one cities 3 or 4 times that round, and it was like, wow, we're doing really well. And Rocket League's prestige was really well, and I was quickly in the top 100 and top 50. I was like, I'm not playing that hard, and yet I'm keep on getting on a higher position on the leaderboards. And it's like, at what point do I decide to go for a top 10? At what point does Rocket League decide to go for number one? And so we eventually went for those goals, and we both achieved them. We moved down to Little Rock a little bit earlier than we thought we would, and basically had the run of that city. And just as we would move around, we'd encounter new groups, and they eventually kind of became the new EF, and we quickly expanded to, I think at our high point, 3.5 corps worth of people. And so for a couple of rounds, we hung out in Little Rock, was very successful in Little Rock. And Thanksgiving was coming up, and we knew some people were going to take, uh, a, a play the game less intently. And so we kind of decided, we've done all the big achievements here on this server. Let's start branching out and having some fun. And so we would try, so we left Little Rock and we said, okay, we see Walla Walla in lots of in game, so let's see what's going on out there. So for the Thanksgiving round, we played out in Walla Walla. For the Christmas round, we said, okay, well, what's playing an in game without a warehouse? So let's go out to Boston. Let's see if we can do well in Boston. Sure enough, we got number 2 in Boston. This really ridiculous stuff. The round after that is like, okay, well, let's see what we can do with a flip round. Now let's try and flip as many cities as we can. And so we started off in Wichita, went immediately over to Kansas City, flipped it on the very first day, moved up to Omaha, moved over to Davenport, moved over to Chicago, went up to Milwaukee, and we had another one of our groups start off in Bismarck or something, and then track over to Minneapolis, which was our in-game plan initially. And so the people who didn't want to move around a lot, they started up in the north and would just kind of set and forget in Minneapolis. But eventually, and very quickly, within the first round, in the very first week, we were flipping 6 cities a day, 3 going one way, 3 going the other. And we did that through most of Era 6. So we had 5 complete weeks of flipping 6 cities every single day. And, a couple days to set that up and a couple days to set up our in-game, those were the bookmarks. And I forget what the count is, but, it's something incredible. And, other people in other corps are flipping in other areas of the map. And so it set the records for the highest prestige for city hauling for the U.S. double speed scenario for, I think, 6 months or something like that before one of the Russians or German groups basically were doing the same thing and actually beat our numbers eventually. So, we did that and pulled off, incredible feat. The round after that, we decided, okay, let's kind of change the metagame that kind of exists now in what I call the race to the bottom on to be the top 10 city. You always want to position yourself with lowest amount of required goods for in-game. Everyone does that. And one of the reasons why I'm so keen on, keeping people out of the cities is this is a common theme in practically every game of Rail Nation. Try and get the lowest level for in-game that you can and still be in the top 10 so you can have lower requirements for the in-game. But, let's flip the script that. Let's try and set the record for the highest city we can get for in-game. And so what is the current record? Okay, it happens to be 49. Well, let's make it 50. And while we're at it, why don't we do the warehouse? We'll set the goal for level 51. And, EF and Rocket League and I, we love the warehouse. I mean, the warehouse is just incredible. And, we build strategies around it. And so for that round, we achieved that goal. And actually was fairly close of winning in-game in a level 50 city. Because we done all the things to level up the factories, and just we had a good team going, and we were all working together. A couple rounds after that, I took some time off to go play Origins, and that's when that was launched. And it's a regular length server, so I actually took 2 rounds off. And EF continued to play on Broadway, and they just did kind of some standard stuff in the Little Rock area. But 2 rounds after the 5150 round is what we called that Midland round. Um, we tried to team up with the top group that had kind of replaced us when we started kind of not playing for the top corp, or to dominate the server, what have you. We really shifted into having fun. At the same time, this other group got serious about becoming the dominant group, and they quickly became that. Excuse me one moment. I'm about to cough, and I don't want to do that in your ear, so give me one moment, please. Okay, hopefully that was successful. I didn't do that in your ear. So one round we decide, okay, we've never seen Miami win an end game, so we teamed up with this group. We went down to Miami. I came up with the strategy on how people would win in Miami, and we were half a good away from winning in Miami. And the other group that we were playing with, they were upset about that loss. But to me, I thought it was quite an achievement, and so I'm actually happy with it. Um, Only because another group kind of decided to go in a different direction, and kind of play spoiler almost. Did we actually lose that round? And so my point on this story is that I've been very lucky that EF has embraced me as a strategist, and are willing to do these crazy things in round from round, doing something completely different, and being open to the possibility of, hey, let's do this, and let's try and have some fun that way. And again, these are people from all types of players. Some with lots of time, some with very little time, people with money, people without money, a whole collection of just about everyone. And in their own ways, they made adjustments to do these different things. And as a team, we accomplished some amazing stuff. And it's something that I'm very proud of, something I'm very happy to share, and all that sort of thing. And so I hope that you are able to find that in your games. And that's rewarding. Whether you are the person leading the group, whether you're the person making the plans for the group, or whether you're just someone helping out on the group goals, and they are able to achieve that. Um, Again, I'm talking about what to do with the time savings if you keep people from connecting to your cities in Steam Over Europe. And the reason why I'm sharing this story is, and how it relates to Steam Over Europe, is like, not everyone is going to have those types of relationships, that ability to say, okay, this is the way we should do things, and kind of believe in this philosophy, and take everyone along for the ride. And it is what it is. Um, if you are able to find some of that influence, or what have you, where people are willing to follow you, here are some things that you can do to kind of lead into these types of things. Now, next round on Loch Ness, I plan on kind of breaking away from the group I've been playing with the last 2 rounds and kind of starting from scratch in the West and to really start building a new team to compete against the 2, 3, 4 other regions that are currently competing for top region on this server, and to be a fifth, possibly eventually one day competitor and hopefully the winner by doing some of these alternative tactics. So I'm kind of starting from scratch. I'll have 2, maybe 3 different players that are from the old group that kind of believe in me, will trust in me to do all these wacky things that I'm proposing. But it's I'm starting from scratch, and it will take a long time to fully develop, all the things that I think are key to having efficient hauling for this particular server. So, the first challenge obviously is going to be to have people adjust their gameplay to not start connecting to other cities. And that will take some time to do convincing. And since this is kind of like a dead region now, people probably will be less inclined to listen to how other people play the game or what have you. So that in and of itself is going to be a struggle to really change the mindset of players to not connect around to other cities in the region. So, that will take several rounds just to do in and of itself before we can really start seeing, hey, I've got less requirements at our landmark. We can level this thing faster. We're going to pick up some extra time by doing that. So, however long it takes for you to, make these changes in your regions and, convince other people to try and do this sort of thing, it will be a growing period. But, let's just kind of go down the road and say, you are in a position that you can say, I want to do this next round, and your entire region of your collection of corps that you've been grouped up with and been playing a long time will follow you into whatever fire you lead them into. Let's say you have that. So, what do you do with this extra time? Now, I would say for the very first time you do this, that you just play your normal game, however you've been playing it, and just have the reduction on requirements, and that will save you time to get up to that level 14 landmark. And at that point, go help the other landmarks in the region. Do your normal gameplay and just finish with your landmarks earlier than you have ever before. And that will be the proof to everyone else that yes, this does work. This does have value because now I've got this extra amount of time to, level the cities and to better position, for the end game and all that good stuff. So when you're initially starting off with this, I strongly suggest you just play your normal Steam over Europe game. You make this one adjustment, and you just reap the benefits of extra time when you get into that fourth, fifth, sixth era. And, maybe for other people that are listening to this video, that it will take longer to get everyone on board in your region. So, you may only just save yourself a couple days instead of an entire era. So that would be my first suggestion on how to approach, you know, this system and what have you. So once you do kind of have that understanding and you have the confidence of your team and of your region that this is the way to go forward here on out, then I can start suggesting other things that you kind of slowly add in one by one to have more advantages, or to kind of shift things around so you can hit key points whenever they appear. And the very first suggestion I do is to use that newbie status, whether it's 2 days or 4 days, to use whatever newbie status a player has and tell them only haul for money. Do not worry about putting money into the landmark. Put your money into your labs. After you're done with the starter kit, if you are going for a starter kit, you know, work those labs because we definitely want to get through the research tree as fast as possible. Um, so invest in your labs. Don't invest in the landmark. And just while you're in newbie status, focus on making money and put that money into your station buildings. Once we're done with newbie status, then we'll go back to our original game plan and start attacking the landmark like we always do. And then from that, play the rest of the round doing your normal Steam over Europe strategy. And so that's the second step, and hopefully they can say, okay, well, not only are we saving extra time by not connecting to all the other cities, but we have stronger accounts when we start off this project because we focus entirely on making money while the money is super good under newbie status. And so that's the second step on China, change the culture of Steam over Europe and how your region and your team approaches it. Now, the third thing I would do is to start playing every city comp. One of the frustrating things for me coming back to Steam over Europe is the realization that no one really ever does these city comps. And, we just had the city comps for the first time in Era 6. So the first week's city comps of Era 6. And I will show you the results here on all of those. And, Cardiff walked away with this one because no one else was really seriously playing it. And let me just go up to the very first one. This is right here at the top of the screen. These are all the top cities right now, and this is the first bracket. And it looks like they were seriously playing it. But Madrid actually wasn't seriously playing it. However, they were leveling at the time. They were doing their daily level at the time of the city comp. They kind of scheduled it around it, and that's why they were able to produce the numbers, because basically the entire region was in Madrid trying to level the city, and it's got a very high requirements because it got a whole lot of people connected into Madrid. So it takes a lot of effort to level that city, and they just happened to be in there at that time. And so, they walked away with the win here. Paris, it looks like other cities were kind of competing, but Paris doesn't have a whole lot of active players. It has maybe, I think, 4 active players during this city comp. And, most of the cities still hauling to the landmark. And yes, we won it, but the competition wasn't really all that. And so when we get further down into the brackets, I mean, these tons are very low. So even in Era 6, people are just kind of ignoring the fact that there is a huge bonus on the table. And I want to, when I'm going forward, and maybe I have a leadership role in the West going in for future rounds. One of my suggestions is that we level the city, that 1-to-1 ratio with the landmark to the city level. The city level actually has to go first. So while you are building up the landmark, you have to level up the city once during that time. And people would only want to do it once so they don't have 2 additional goods the next time the landmark levels. But schedule that level up for your city comp, and to have the breakouts. You got 2 hours during the city comp. Well, then run two 1 hour and the other two the other hours, and hopefully if you got equal hauling capacity, you'll get all four goods to number one. And since no one else is playing these competitions, it should not really take a whole lot of tonnage. You should walk away with these wins because you are trying to level the city at the same time. And so, yes, you get this 24 period of time, and yes, the school of thought is we don't run city comps because we don't want people tempted into hauling for the city instead of hauling at the landmark. But you have the secret. You have the secret of don't connect to your cities. I'll have a lower requirement at the landmark. That'll give me more time in the entire round to do other stuff because I'm leveling that landmark so much easier than other players. So take those two, or once, if you're on the double speed, take those city comps and try and level your city for that period of time. But, go ahead, take the full 24 hours to make money. And, that's going to give you money for building tracks to the other landmarks. And, eventually helping them out and putting more tons into those landmarks so you can get those quickly, and you get those region points for getting everyone up to the level 14, so you can get them all at the level 15 by the time end game ends. And so this game requires a whole lot of money. So when you have opportunities to make extra money, to make bonus money, grab every one you can. And you have extra time. Instead of putting that on the end, start putting these day breaks throughout the different eras to say, okay, I'm going to run for city comp. I'm going to win city comp. It should be fairly easy to do. And I'm going to make this extra money. And, for one day, I'm going to have, some decent prestige coming out of the city. And also, you are running packs. As soon as you level city, people are going to jump on the packs. Hopefully you won't have a lot of people connected to your city, but that's extra money that they are making during that situation. And so people will commonly run packs as soon as you level the city. And so if you got that 24 hours of double money, that's just more money coming into your region, and that's the key thing. It's your region is getting more money and more resources to make, to give yourself more region points. And that's what it's all about, is taking these advantages that are in the game, seizing them, and giving your region more assets to play with to earn more region points, and so therefore be a higher rank. So, that's the next stage. Now, the final thing I would suggest on what to do with additional time instead of just leaving it on the end is, hopefully by this point you're kind of understanding just how much time you will save over the entire round with this tactic. And hopefully as you go round after round, you are convincing more people that this is the way to play your region. And so you won't have those people refusing to say, nope, you don't know how to play this region, this is the only way to do it. You'll get more people on board and less people therefore connecting to your cities, therefore the better requirements, the better results you're going to get. So, over time you will kind of understanding is like, I've got this much room to play with. Okay, so what can I do to actually boost my region points even further than just kind of waiting for the end? And that's where you can kind of start doing other things to make up for the prestige loss you're doing by having the lower requirements. And so let's just say you figure out that you have one third the time it takes to level your landmark. You'll have a third of that taken away from you by having the lower requirements. You have to only work 2/3 of as hard to level your landmark as the next city over, as your main competition. So, my suggestion is to add that third back into your landmark by increasing the number of goods that that level requires. And that means leveling up your city an extra time or two. Instead of the 1-to-1, you're going to have a 2-to-1. And so you'll pick up those extra requirements at the landmark, and you'll get prestige, rank 1 through 20 or what have you. Hopefully you got enough players hauling all your goods to get down to those minimum payoffs whenever you do level. But, so increasing the time it will take or the number of goods will kind of balance out the prestige that you were losing by having that lower requirement. And that's one of the ways you can kind of keep the player prestige going. But also you got a couple extra levels that no one else on the map has on your cities. And so that could mean a couple titles that you only have access to that no one else does. And that's extra prestige for your players. And guess what? That's prestige for your region. Or excuse me, those are region points for you. So, they're just kind of different things. And that would be kind of like the final step that I would suggest to you all on what to do with the extra time that you have. And, right now I'm guesstimating that you could have a third more time. I definitely can see that maybe you can level the landmark in half the time if you have complete buy-in from the region. Maybe you can do it in 2 rounds instead of 4 rounds. And, maybe you have 2 entire eras to play with. So, the more organized your team is, again, that's the key to success in all the team achievements. The largest group working together, they're going to win. So if you're able to achieve that, to have people working towards this goal along with you, you could have like some amazing results by getting everyone on board with this program, and larger than what I can expect. It's like a third I think is safe, but a half that can be achievable, and if you can do that, whew, imagine the region points you can build up with that. So those are my suggestions. Do it incrementally, but also seize upon the other opportunities that every region in this game right now ignores. Those the newbie status, those city cops, other things like that. Just begging for people to play. Encourage people to participate in every competition that comes up. Every 6 hours, every 3 hours, whatever it is for your particular server. Have people run as many of those. Yes, that is less tons going to your landmark, but guess what? All that prestige, all those prizes, all that extra little money, that's more region points. As the mayors try and set those competitions up to be an RG, it hopefully it won't be enough to level the city, but the people running in the competition, they're also going to get payoffs at the end of that day for running RGs to the city. That's a little extra prestige and region points that other regions aren't getting. So just kind of try and utilize all those little things, and just kind of build up your list on the things that you're going to be touching on to earn a little extra region points, prestige here and there. So anyway, here's my game failing. I got server problems. So it's a good time to end the game, or to end this video. So I hope this gives you some interesting ideas to play around with, and I will see you on the next video. Take care, everyone. Thanks for watching.